Some months ago I made a video about how wartime British Prime Minister Winston Churchill was almost killed by German artillery fire crossing the River Rhine in 1945. But you may not know that Churchill had already cheated death earlier in the war, not on the battlefields of Europe, but in the Peace of America. His survival was due not to luck, but to the quick reactions of a US Secret Service agent. This is the story of how, in 1942, Churchill almost died in Baltimore at the hands of a crazed lone gunman. It is generally acknowledged that one of the most dangerous security threats for world leaders and celebrities is the lone gunman. Members of no enemy power or secret conspiracy, these people are suffering from mental illnesses, who have access to firearms and for some reason fixate on killing a particular famous person. And they are the hardest type of assassin to guard against. Of course, Winston Churchill had his enemies. There had been plots to rub him out on occasion, but very few actual attempts on his life. Hitler himself would order one rather ill-conceived plan to rub Churchill out, along with President Roosevelt and Marshal Stalin at the Tehran Conference in November 1943, codenamed Operation Long Jump. The operation in Iran was supposed to have been led by Hitler's famed commando leader, SS Obersturmbannführer Otto Skorzeny, but Soviet intelligence managed to uncover the plot in advance, leading to the Germans cancelling the operation. Compared with Hitler, Churchill was very lightly protected, having just one dedicated bodyguard with him at all times, Walter Thompson of the Metropolitan Police. Churchill, an old soldier, was, according to Thompson, a crack shot and routinely carried a concealed pistol on his person. Of course, Churchill always travelled with a large retinue of staff officers and attendants, and when abroad, local security was beefed up, including the deployment in America of the US Secret Service for personal protection. The Secret Service was originally created in 1865 by Abraham Lincoln, not to protect the president, but instead to crack down on currency counterfeiting. Although President Lincoln was shot and killed in 1865, his limited security came from the U.S. Army, and it was only following the assassination of President William McKinley in 1901 that the Secret Service assumed presidential protection. President Franklin Roosevelt, according to U.S. Secret Service Chief Mike Reilly, was not bothered with his own security, like Churchill, but cared deeply for that of his guests. In June 1942, as Prime Minister Churchill was due to leave the White House, he was told to ensure Churchill left the U.S. alive and well. Reilly liaised with the British Embassy in Washington, which quashed his plan to have Churchill driven the 3 miles to the Anacostia Naval Air Station to board his private plane within 20 minutes of leaving the White House. Like Churchill, the British diplomats didn't take the Prime Minister's security all that seriously. Instead, the embassy told Reilly that Churchill could fly from a BOAC base at Baltimore. BOAC, British Overseas Airways Corporation, was the national carrier and is today called British Airways. At Baltimore were a number of British staff, and the embassy felt Churchill's passing through would raise their morale. Reilly protested that the airfield was a public place with dozens of staff, very difficult to properly vet and protect, but the embassy assured him that all the British subjects had been properly vetted by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. On the 27th of June 1942, Churchill duly left the White House, secretly, to avoid the press, Roosevelt accompanying him via a tunnel to the Treasury Department. Churchill then went on with Harry Hopkins and his naval aide, Commander Tommy Thompson, in limousines out of D.C. to the airport at Baltimore in Maryland. As well as being an airport, the place was also a seaplane base, built between 1929 and 1941, and then known as Baltimore Municipal Airport. Today it's the Dundalk Marine Terminal. As was standard practice, and is indeed done today, Reilly had already scattered a handful of Secret Service agents throughout the airport, disguised as baggage handlers and other members of staff. As the motorcade neared the airport, Reilly radioed ahead to the Secret Service agent at the operations building, telling him to inform Churchill's pilot, John Kelly Rogers, to move Churchill's plane alongside the dock for boarding, Churchill flying in a BOAC Boeing 314 flying boat named Berwick, which Churchill had used regularly for transatlantic trips via Bermuda. The cars arrived and stopped about 100 feet from the dock. Churchill remained in his car while Reilly ensured that everything was ready for his departure. A small crowd of BOAC employees waited excitedly to see off the Prime Minister, but something in the meantime had occurred. Shortly before Churchill's arrival, Secret Service agent Howard Chandler, one of the men Reilly had distributed about the airfield, noticed a BOAC guard nearer to the plane behaving suspiciously, standing right by the entrance to the place where Churchill would shortly pass. Howard moved up behind him and actually heard the man muttering under his breath, "I'm going to kill that bastard Churchill. I'm going to kill him." The guard was an American and was working for the British BOAC and was armed as part of his job providing security at the airport. Howard didn't hesitate. He grappled with the man, disarming him before he could get his gun out, 2 other Secret Service agents running over to assist. As the 3 agents frog-marched the man away, they passed Reilly, Howard telling him, "This jerk wants to shoot Churchill." The suspect was placed in a Secret Service car. And then Churchill was free to board his plane, completely oblivious to how close he had come to injury or death. In fact, Mike Reilly wrote that Churchill had been within 1 minute of assassination, if not for the quick reactions of Howard Chandler. Chandler received a raise of $6 a week for his quick reactions, and the BOAC guard was later found to be insane and sent to an asylum. This assassination attempt was never mentioned by the wartime British or American press or in Churchill's bodyguard's memoirs, but it was carefully noted in Mike Reilly's book published in 1947. It was, with the exception of a handful of German artillery shells that fell near to him in 1945, the closest Winston Churchill came to being killed in World War II. If you'd like more information about Churchill's brush with death at the River Rhine in 1945, check out the end screen for a link to my video. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and share, and also visit my audiobook channel, War Stories with Mark Felton. You can also help to support both of my channels at PayPal and Patreon. Details in the description box below.